If you're doing everything right on your sales calls and still hearing things like, I need to think about it, or that's really expensive, you don't need better leads. I'm going to tell you something no one else will. And that is, it's not the leads. And no, they're not all broke. It's your nervous system that's holding you back from the sales you desire. Let me show you why. Have you ever gotten off a sales call feeling like you just ran a marathon and the person sat there and said, I need to think about it? You did everything right. You asked the right questions, you followed the script, you even pushed through the nerves, but it felt so heavy. It felt so performance-y, like it was forced. And this isn't a mindset issue, and this is not a script issue. It is a nervous system issue. Because at the end of the day, communication, 95% of it is non-verbal. So when you fix your energy by expanding your nervous system, sales calls feel completely different. And I'm going to show you how. Hi, I'm Jana Niksa. I'm known as the Authentic Sales Coach. And as someone who spent over 2 decades as a top performer in the sales industry and 40,000 sales calls later and millions of dollars sold, I help female entrepreneurs go from dreading sales calls with their prospects to actually enjoying them and even looking forward to them. So what changed? Well, it wasn't their offer and it wasn't their pricing. It was their nervous system. We recalibrated it. So today I'm giving you the exact framework for selling from regulation instead of pressure. So ghosting, over-explaining, and performing and hearing things like, I need to think about it, go away forever. So I want to talk to you about my client, Aubrey. She was a rock star when it came to consulting. She had an incredible offer. Her niche was nailed down and her clients got great results. But for whatever reason, even though she was amazing at what she did, when she got on sales calls, all of that went out the window. Her heart started racing, her palms got sweaty, and she had that nervous pit in her stomach. She'd say all the right things, but she would talk too fast. She would over-explain. She was trying to get it right, and she was all up in her head, and she was trying to perform and convince. And after every call, she actually felt like she needed to lay down because it was just so overwhelming for her nervous system. And then, of course, the client ghosted. This is what happens when we are in fight or flight on a sales call. And this is not something some script is going to fix for you. And this is also not a fake it till you make it confidence issue. It is learning how to recalibrate your nervous system so that it doesn't try to protect you in these higher stakes moments. So even though your nervous system's actually trying to protect you, it actually prevents you from making the sale. And so here's the root cause of what's going on so that you can understand and prevent it next time. Okay, so there's 3 states to the nervous system. The first one is parasympathetic. This is when you feel safe, calm, you're cool, you're collected, grounded. And this is when you're magnetic. This is when you're in your power. This is when you could talk about whatever forever and people are just drawn to you. And unfortunately, this is not the version of your nervous system that usually ends up on a sales call. Instead, your parasympathetic nervous system comes online. This is that fight or flight. Like, what do I need to say to get them to do what I need them to do? This is when we step into lack. This is when our ego takes over the conversation and tries to control and gets all attached. And this is where most people live on sales calls. And unfortunately, most of the sales coaching programs that are out there seem to reinforce this. But I think we would both agree there was nothing about what I described there that is enticing or magnetic or powerful, right? And then the last way that the nervous system can behave is just that shutdown. And this is really just when you're in fawn. And that means you're just kind of detached, sort of blank, kind of eyes glazed over, right? Which again is not where we want to be when we're trying to connect with somebody and have a real, powerful, and often intimate conversation. And when you're dysregulated, when you can't hold the right frame of energy during the sales call, your clients feel it. And it's kind of one of those things you've probably experienced yourself where somebody may be saying something and saying all the right things, but your body's like, this is not it. And this is exactly why maybe they're nodding along and they're smiling, but underneath it all, they are ready to ghost. Because you know what's making them more uncomfortable than anything else? Your uncomfortable energy. And so again, I cannot stress this enough. It's not your price. It's not your offer. It's that pick me nervous energy that they're feeling from you underneath the words. And so before I get into really how to regulate your nervous system, I want to talk about a few different principles that might help you so that you can put this into practice. The first thing is, like I was saying before, your energy is 95% of the communication that's going on, and you cannot fake your frequency. So it's really, really important that this is not just something you do here and there, but something that you put into practice, because the more you do this, it's like a cumulative effect. Something else to understand about sales in general. Sales is not about you getting what you need. Sales is not about controlling. So I want you to think and redefine sales for yourself, that it is about connecting over convincing, and it's about staying grounded instead of needing from somebody else. Because at the end of the day, it's not about you, it's about them. They're here for the transformation. They want to know, what's available to them. And it's not about you. And I was saying, like, you cannot fake your frequency. Like, it is just so important that you come to these conversations regulated, grounded, and most importantly, present. Because here's the truth. I spoke about the ego before and how it comes in and tries to control and take over. Your ego cannot control you in the present moment. So if you're truly listening actively to the words that are coming out of their mouth, then there's no space for the ego projecting and trying to step into control and attachment, because you're just being present and listening to them. So what do we want to do? Let's show up to the call this way. First and foremost, the best way to stay in that calm nervous system state is to take big, deep belly breaths, because that signals to your body that you're safe. Because if you're running from a tiger, you don't have time to go, right? You're shallow breathing. You're running as fast as you can. Everything is being dedicated in that moment to fight or flight in your muscle. And so by taking those big, deep belly breaths and putting your hand on your heart and remember the intention, which is the highest good for all, you begin to calm down, because you are safe. This is not life-threatening. This is ego-threatening. And if you stay with me long enough, it won't even be ego-threatening either. So get grounded. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your back resting against the chair. Stay present and just stay in this moment as you come to the call. Then you want to anchor in certainty. Certainty that you are incredible at what you do. Certainty that the intention is the highest good for all, which really brings in that element of surrender and trust. Because at the end of the day, I bet you can think of many, 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 many big things that happened in your life that you were not in 100% control of, right? So can we leave a little bit of room for the co-creation? The next thing is to remember that as much as this is a sales call for you, it's also a sales call for them. Meaning, I don't work with everybody. I've been on multiple calls just these past few weeks with some people that weren't a good fit. So when we can realize that this is a two-way discovery call, and we're actually trying to understand if it's a good fit, if you can really help them, and if they're the kind of person that you want to help and can get the best results in your program, it becomes like a two-way audition. So that also eases this performing and I got to get it right and I need them to pick me energy. Because at the end of the day, your energy is expensive. What you do is incredible. You're a genius at it. The right people would be lucky to work with you. So reframing that, flip that script. This is not about, oh my goodness, I hope they pick me. This is like they would be lucky to work with me because you're good at what you do. Can you see how that changes the entire conversation? Not from a place of like bragging and pride, but from a place of like, I'm good either way. Buy or don't buy. I'm good either way. I don't need that to validate who I am and how good I am at what I do. And so lastly, when you combine that pure intention with the present energy, with the highest good for all, with remembering who and what you are and owning your value and your worth, it completely changes the frame. And when you ground that in before the call, like you come to it fully in your power and not in your performance. So what happens when you come to calls like this? First off, you're going to shock the heck out of people because they're expecting some high pressure sales conversation and you come so chill, so cool, so I don't need anything from you energy that they're actually curious and want to know more. And you're going to get way more yeses because people buy from people that can hold certainty, not people that convince them. And so when you can hold that for them and activate their desire around what is possible for them, they won't need to think about it. Because here's the truth. If they're on a call with you, chances are this is a problem that they thought about solving for a while. This isn't like, hey, I think I want to solve this problem and boom, I hop on a sales call an hour later. That's not how these things work, especially not in high ticket. This is something they've been thinking about for a while. So don't buy into that smokescreen. And the best part is I believe that sales calls are the highest form of service. What you're doing in that moment is there's somebody that's on that call and they know there's a higher version of them available for them. They can feel it. They know there's more potential for them. They know there's a higher timeline. And what you're doing in that moment is holding your energy and your certainty to help them see what's possible for them. And this is a beautiful, sacred process. When my clients fully embody this, they actually look forward to and love sales calls because this is where their coaching really begins. And they get to do it not from convincing, but in the name of service. But in order to be able to serve people at that level, you have to regulate your nervous system first because you can't pour from an empty cup. And if you're not safe and you're not feeling regulated, they're not going to feel safe either. So if this hit home for you, I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Ask me a question. Maybe there's another video topic you want me to cover around sales or something here that I said that you want me to go deeper into. So let me know in the comments below. And I would also love to know what part of the sales conversation feels heaviest for you now, because I want to make sure that I'm making you guys the kind of content that's going to get you to where you want to go. And next week, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what to say when somebody says I need to think about it. Because of course, we can't just sit there all regulated like, it's all good, right? Now that we come with the right energy, we still have to account for the other 5%, which is now how do we walk them through the resistance and the fear of making the wrong decision, which is exactly what the objection I need to think about it really means. So we'll see you next time. Bye for now.